Thanks for checking out this video. Before we start, I am not a financial advisor and none of this should be considered financial advice. This tool is for educational and personal planning purposes only. It does not constitute financial, tax, legal or investment advice. All projections are estimates based on the values that you enter and are not guaranteed. What age should I take Social Security? Let's take a look at our retirement income planner and see if this is a tool that can help us make a decision based on our own circumstances. If you're within 10 years of retirement, this is probably the most important financial decision you haven't made yet. Take Social Security at 62 and you get your money now, but you lock in a permanently reduced payment for the rest of your life. Wait until 70 and you get 77% more per month, but you might wait 8 years to see a penny. I'm going to run 3 real scenarios through a retirement income planner and show you exactly what the numbers look like, including one result that genuinely surprised me. Before we run the scenarios, let me introduce our example person. We'll call him Dave. He's 57, plans to retire at 62. He has 400,000 in his 401k, 50,000 in cash, and the Social Security Administration estimates his benefit at $1,850 per month at the age of 62. Let's take a look at our planner here at some of those numbers. We've got the starting 401k of 400,000. We've got the starting cash here. And if we go to our Social Security Optimizer, we can see, actually first let's go to edit all values. This is where we would set our Social Security claiming age. So for this scenario we're claiming at 62, and this is where we set the amount that we expect at the age of 62. So with that being said, we can go to our Social Security Optimizer here and we can see, let's just bring this into view. We can see the 1,850 there at age 62. And you feel free to pause this screen and to look at some more of the information on here. And this is some information on break-even ages when you delay versing claims. So this might be useful. So we can see in this scenario that if he was to wait until 67, his monthly check would be 2,643 or thereabouts, just roughly, and then at 70 his amount would be 3,277. All that's calculated based on what you what you enter in this edit area here. Now I've been through this scenario and I have made a first pass at optimizing some of these withdrawal amounts. Our 401k withdrawal amount, we can see that this particular scenario is cash heavy to start with, and our income is balanced throughout up to age 80. We've got approximately 4,000 in real money in scenario 2, and just over 4,000, about 4,300 here in phase 3 and 4, leveling off at 4,000 in phase 5. And we can see the ending balances at the end of each scenario, which kind of means we're on track. And if we look at this cost of living adjustment here, this is for our Social Security, we can see that this is going to average out over this 36-month period here between 62 and 65. This is going to average out about 1,899 accounting for inflation, and then at phase 3 just over 2,000, phase 4 2,216, and then in phase 5 our actual amount we collect would be 2,621. Now, just before we continue here, let's have a look at our scenarios tab here. Now, this shows us a pessimistic scenario, a base case, and an optimistic scenario based on different growth rate and inflation assumptions. So in our base case, we're looking at a total of $449,560. We've got that split between 401k and cash. We have zero equity in this scenario. A net income of 4,154 a month, and that's 3,974 real in the first phase. Now, just looking over here, in the pessimistic scenario, that number is actually very similar. In the optimistic scenario, the number is also very similar. Let's jump down here to phase 5, and in phase 5 we have, in the 401k, we've got $2,000 left at age 80 and a cash of 18,000. Now, if the markets don't do so great and this inflation goes against us, then we might be in a situation where we only have 18,000 here in total cash left, and then we go to the optimistic scenario, and under these conditions, with a high 401k growth rate and low inflation, we could actually end up with a substantial amount in our 401k. That's 311,000, and those scenarios here are kind of modeled on our graph here, showing the optimistic scenario and the base case and the pessimistic scenario. So that should give you some idea of how this particular strategy would perform over time. In scenario 1 here, Dave is claiming as soon as he can, at the age of 62, he's going to get 1,850 a month, and that's going to start immediately when he retires. That sounds great. 8 years of payments before someone who waited to 70 sees a single dollar. And if we look at this, we can see that the 401k is doing more of the heavy lifting in the later phases, because the Social Security check isn't as large. Every year of inflation, the gaps between what he would have got at 70 versus what he's getting at 62 gets a little wider. Okay, so now let's flip the script to the opposite extreme here. In the next scenario, Dave is going to wait until 70. His Social Security amount at the age of 70 is actually going to be much higher than it was when he claimed at 62. And so you might think, well, yeah, that means I'm going to have more money, right? Well, let's dial it in for this particular scenario and see what happens. Okay, so in this scenario here, we have adjusted the retirement age here to 70, and the amount that Dave is going to get at the age of 70 is $3,280 or thereabouts. And let's go back to the overview here and see what's happening. So in this scenario, I've been through already and I've tweaked these numbers to try and squeeze as much monthly income as possible out of this scenario. Here we can see that phase 4 has been split into two. We have the first part of phase 4, which goes up to the age of 70, and then we have phase 4B here, which is the age of 70 to 72, with a little note that says Social Security starts age 70 and it's independently editable. So let's have a look at what's happening here. In order to maintain this monthly income, we have higher 401k withdrawals. So in this scenario, we're starting off with $3,000 401k withdrawal here, 4,800 a month here, 5,300 here. And the end result of that is that our income over these phases is smoothed. However, it's coming in around 3,692 here a month. We can actually go to our average net monthly income here, and it's given us 4,463 as a nominal sum here, and a real sum of 3,618. So I think what's going to be interesting here is we compare retiring at 62 with retiring at 70. So let's just switch over to age 62 here, and we can see that the nominal income here is 5,072 with the real income 4,122. So an average of 4,122 over the duration of this retirement plan for this scenario, where we claim Social Security early, 4,122, and we go to here and we're managing 3,619 a month. That's nearly 500 a month less for the entire retirement plan duration. So how did that happen? Well, the reason it happened is because in this scenario we are drawing down our 401k very early on, which means it does not get chance to grow, and because it doesn't get chance to grow, we have less money overall. Whereas in this scenario here, we are using cash and a small 401k withdrawals at the beginning. That allows our 401k amount to grow over time, and results in a higher monthly income throughout the plan. This is why it's such a good idea to run your own numbers through an income planner so that you can see how those numbers stack up for you personally. So just before we move on to the next scenario, it is worth pointing out at this point that when we split phase 4 into two phases, we could independently adjust the withdrawal for the 401k and cash if necessary for the first part of the phase and for the second part of the phase. We were keeping the real income about the same, but in this first part of the phase I had to withdraw 5,300 a month from the 401k, whereas in this second part of the phase I only had to withdraw 2,200 to come up with the same income, as obviously Social Security has been added in the second part of that phase. And the other point to keep in mind as well is this does model to age 80 currently, and we can extend this to age 90 by clicking this button here. If Dave was to live to 85, 88 or 90, the math increasingly favours waiting to withdraw Social Security. So the break-even age where the total lifetime money is equal is typically around 78 to 80. After that, every year is extra money. But in the scenario that we're particularly looking at, that's not something that we're concerned with right now. So moving on to our next scenario, this is where Dave is going to retire at full retirement age. That's 67. So if we go into here now, we can see the retirement age has been set to 67, and at 67 we expect to get 2,650. So this is where we would enter that. Now in this particular scenario, there is no split phase because the retirement age of 67 falls naturally at the beginning of phase 4 anyway, so no need to split the phase there. So let's have a look at what's happened at the income. Again, I've been through here and I've tried to kind of smooth the income to see what we would get over the duration of this plan. And we see that our real income from this plan is 3,777. That's claiming at age 67. And if we compare that with claiming at the age of 70, which was 3,619, we actually find that by claiming at 67 actually gives us an extra $100 per month throughout the duration of the retirement plan. And again, in line with what we discussed before about the 401k value increasing over time, that would kind of be in line with what we would expect for that. It's actually really interesting what the planner can show you, what happens when Social Security kicks in at 67. The 401k withdrawal can drop because Social Security is covering more of the gap, basically. That's the benefit of mid-phase Social Security start. You can dial back your portfolio drawdown the moment that those checks start arriving. So here's a scenario nobody talks about. It's the one that surprised me the most. What if Dave has a spouse who's 5 years younger and she has a lower earnings history? Say her own Social Security benefit would be around $900 a month. So if we go into this area here and click Married Filing Jointly, and we'll just enter that at 62 she's going to $900 a month. In that case, Dave's claiming decision doesn't just affect his check. If he dies first, she inherits the higher of the two Social Security amounts, which means if Dave waits till 70, she could receive $3,280 a month for the rest of her life instead of $900. That's a completely different calculation. So let's just go back and see how this changes things. Now, if we remember before, let's go back just so that we remember here. Let's do that. If we remember before, our real income was 3,777 a month, and after we file married, then our income is going to be 4,330. This is why financial planners often say the higher earner in the couple should almost always wait as long as possible. You're not just buying yourself a bigger check, you're buying your spouse a bigger safety net. So what's the right answer? Honestly, it depends on three things. One, your health and family longevity history. Two, whether you have enough in savings to bridge the gap if you wait. Three, whether you're married and what your spouse's situation looks like. The break even is roughly age 78 to 80. If you're confident you'll live past that, waiting pays. If you have health concerns or genuinely need the money, claiming earlier makes sense. And that's not a failure, it's just reality. What I'd encourage you to do is run your own numbers in the planner. Put your actual Social Security estimate from SSA.gov, your real savings, and compare the phases side by side in the same way that we've done today. The answer is usually obvious once you see it visually. So that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you in the next video.